Matthew 5:4 says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." On this episode of Monica Mentors, we want to talk about when goodbye comes too soon, helping kids deal with grief. I want to dedicate this episode to the Page/Brown family. Sudden loss can leave families feeling overwhelmed and searching for answers, especially our young people. Through this heartfelt conversation and sharing some real-time stories, we're going to explore ways to help our children process emotions, build resilience, and honor the memory of loved ones who may pass too soon. On this show, we offer you hope, understanding, and a reminder that healing happens together even when goodbye comes too soon. For our discussion points today, I want to talk about understanding loss from a biblical example of grief. If you think back, I know back in Sunday school, I learned about Jesus and Lazarus, and John 11:1-44 gives a great message or shares a lot of information in the Bible. And it starts out in that scripture by saying Jesus loved Lazarus. And when he died, y'all, Jesus actually cried. Even though he knew that he would raise Lazarus, he still felt sadness for his friend. Guys, this is a great way to teach our young people that unfortunately grief is normal, but God's love can bring them hope. It's often said in Ecclesiastes 3, a part of it says there is a time to be born and there is a time to die. I've often heard people say when I was growing up, you're going to do two things. You're going to live and you're going to die. And so we have to get to a space where we have to teach our children about grief, because oftentimes a lot of us are going to be in spaces where grief is going to come soon. Another story example was David and his son in 2 Samuel 12:16-23. King David mourned deeply when his son was ill. But after his son passed, he had to find a way to find peace in knowing that one day he would see his son again in heaven. That's a great reference point, parents, to talk to your children about heaven, to talk to your children about what it means in Ecclesiastes 3. That story is a great introduction, because what we're seeing nowadays is you often hear parents say, I don't want to bury my children. But guess what? Children are the same way. But there comes a time where we all will leave here, prepared or unprepared. And so Job, that's a great example. Job lost everything. He lost children. Oh my goodness, his faith. There was so much on the line. And Job's wife was even saying, curse God because of everything that they had lost. Sometimes I think Job's wife gets a really bad rap because you never know what you're going to feel like your emotions when you are in a space where you have lost everything unexpectedly. When you read that story in Job, I think it's Job chapter 1:20-21, they were celebrating. It didn't reference anyone being sick, and they all passed suddenly. And so his family, his health, his possessions, but no matter what happened, Job still trusted God. Job is my hero. Because I am not going to sit here and say that if grief happens unexpectedly, there's often this term people say you shouldn't question God. That's not true. But just be prepared to know what that question is so you won't feel like you in a space where you don't trust God anymore because of an unexpected death in your family. Job's story teaches resilience and faith in difficult times. You heard me say he lost his family, his health, and all of his money. Job is a witness to what it feels like to lose and to lose hard and to lose all at one time. You want to make sure that you explain that you have to explain death in a clear and yet age appropriate way. Try to avoid confusing things like sleeping forever. Make sure you break that down to a child. Make sure that you don't say things like it was just their time. Make sure when you're talking to children, you don't make it seem like God had something to do with it. I used to hear a term when I was growing up all the time. Things like if someone passed too soon, people would say, well, it must have been God. It must have been his timing. That's not always the case because sometimes there are some things that we do that may contribute to us leaving here before we're supposed to. And perhaps what's so beautiful about God's love is that even though we may be coming to heaven or some of y'all going the other place too soon, but at least we have a roadmap throughout the Bible to reference to and to refer our children to in regards to making sure they understand what grief looks like and feels like. I have a situation with a dear friend of mine, and I took her daughters out. And one of the things that they did that was so beautiful to me, it was the smallest thing, but they don't even realize it helped me to heal. They start remembering the good things. We went to a restaurant and they were talking about we all ordered the tea, certain tea, because it was like their mom's favorite tea. And everybody knows me, I don't drink nothing but water. But I feel like that was a moment to help me see that they were stronger than I thought. But then they were my strength as well in just reminiscing on that one moment. You have to emphasize that an early death may or may not, you can't make it seem like it was the person's fault. So be very careful in your wording. And you can't make it seem like, especially if the person passed unexpectedly at the hand of someone else, don't explain it in a way that could potentially cause the child to be angry. As an example, if someone dies at the hand of someone with a weapon, or someone dies in a car accident, if someone dies in their sleep, don't make it seem like there was something bad or wrong about the way that they transitioned. Okay? You got to be very careful because remember, what we learn as children, a lot of times it stays with us as a lifetime teachable moment, especially if we don't get a lot of clarity. And so people who tend to lose someone unexpectedly seem to have a harder time healing because they didn't necessarily have a balance on what it means for someone to die. So remember, you have to acknowledge that it's okay for your child to feel confused for a small amount of time. It's okay for them to feel angry, especially again if it happened in an unexpected way. Y'all, it's even okay for them to feel sad or even numb because they have to come to terms that that person is no longer with them. And you have to give them the space to express how they feel without you judging that feeling. They might want to not get out the bed for a couple days. Their outfit may not match the shoes they have on. You're like, what in the world? Give them some space to be able to work through that. Now, I'm not saying let them live there, but you got to give them a moment to deal with that emotion. You have to normalize grief as a personal part of our life journey, while still understanding that everyone processes grief differently. There's a running joke in my family, and it's only because, my mom was a grief counselor forever. So she's always had a compassion towards people. Someone can transition, and my mom, it seems like it takes her into the space where she's like Wonder Woman, my opinion. But she has a heart for people in those situations. There are some people, it drives them crazy because they're like, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be there. And my mom does give them that space. But again, she knows how to be there for people during that time. That may not be your story. But I want to encourage you, don't get stuck there. And don't forget to talk about it. You have to reinforce that just because that person is no longer there, that doesn't mean that the love that they had has disappeared for your child, and vice versa. The love will be there no matter what. You can encourage them when they see that person. I hear a lot of people, I've done it. I hear a lot of situations where someone transitions, and then people that they in their family start seeing them in their dreams, and they may start seeing all the time, craving their favorite foods or different experiences they begin to remember. Embrace those moments. I believe a lot of times those are considered angelic moments. My family in Louisville, a lot of times I hear them talking about a red cardinal bird. Even some of my friends here in Atlanta, they talk about that being the space of the ancestors, someone who has passed on, who's watching over them. And so you can even use some of those things as a teachable moment. You have to answer their questions honestly. If your kids ask you, hey, why did this person die? If you don't know the answer, you don't have to make up something. You can simply say, I don't know. You can tell them that you don't have all the answers. But I encourage you to listen to them and to honor that space and to love on them and to hug them and to not push too hard, though, but be there as they need you. Please address their fears about death. Let them know that it may happen again to another family member, to another friend. They have entertainers that they love listening to. What if something was to happen to them? But reassure them that they are safe in the arms of the Lord. They are safe in your arms as their parents. They're safe with their leaders and their mentors, their youth leaders who protect them. Offer comfort without dismissing their concerns. Here's a great question that you can say to them. Do you want to talk about it? They may not want to talk then, but leave it open-ended so if they come back to you later, you can say, hey, are you ready to talk about it now? But make sure you give them that space. Kids, Miss Monica hates to tell you, but death is a real thing. And so one of the things that you can do if you lose someone too soon, you can create a memory journal. Now, I'm old school, so I still write stuff down. I still draw. I still color in physical coloring books. But you can write or draw memories of your loved ones. I see so many people that do the vision board. Make you a memory board. Put up some of your favorite memories of you and the person that transitioned. Just as David wrote Psalms to express his emotions, you can do the same. Make sure that you pray and ask God to comfort you during this moment. Parents, please teach your children how to pray when they feel sad, just as Jesus prayed for us when he was on the cross in one of his most agonizing moments. Do acts of kindness. If the person, love to, I don't know, walk at the park, do little things like go to the park and just talk to them while you're out there. Help your kids to honor their loved ones by doing something kind for others, which also helps them reflect on God's love. This is a very important one, y'all, and I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure that I say it the way that I wrote it. Teach them that grief isn't about getting over loss, but learning how to live without that person. Oh, I got to say that again. That's good. Teach the children that grief isn't about getting over loss, but learning how to live without that other person. Whew, patience is going to be your mantle. You have to encourage yourself to be patient with them through the process, and you have to encourage them to be patient. I hear so many people say grief has no time frame. I have family members that lost people 20, 30 years ago, and the smallest thing tends to trigger them. And so you have to understand that feelings may not change over time. You just figure out how to work through it and balance it. But it is always okay to visit grief. I think that we should be more understanding to individuals such as children who lose their parents at an early age. If you have, I've heard stories of where spouses get married and the other spouse passes like right after the ceremony or within a year. You have to give them the space to revisit that moment. Therapy, 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 therapy. Now, you guys knew that was coming. You have to find a way, in addition to therapy, to have a support system through family and friends as well. There are a lot of ministries, a lot of churches that have grief counseling sessions. Take advantage of those. People have been trained to be able to help individuals during that season. There will come a time, y'all. I can't think of one word to give you that will make you think that grief is not going to happen. It is my prayer that you have a heads up, but I've never fed you any bull, and I'm not going to feed any now. There's one thing I heard the young ladies say when I was out. They kept saying, my mother would want me to do this. This is what my mother taught me. I have another friend who lost her mom, and she goes to restaurants that her and her mom went to. Anything that you can do to keep moving is what's going to be pivotal during this time. Y'all, this is my final word of wisdom for you. Grief is one of life's most difficult journeys, especially when the loss is sudden. But even in sorrow, you may not believe it, but there is still hope. Healing does not mean forgetting that person, but it reminds you to carry their love forward in so many ways, including ones that you could have never imagined while they were still here on the earth. That pain may feel overwhelming, but I promise you, You are not alone. I have a cousin that passed away unexpectedly. She also had her son and her daughter who were, for the most part, young to be losing their mom. But you got to remember, God walks with you through every fear, every question, and every quiet moment of remembrance. Is it going to be easy? I don't think so. Because I think if it's easy, you might be shutting off a part of your emotions to deflect instead of heal. Psalms 147:3 says, He heals the brokenhearted and He binds up their wounds. Know that grief isn't something to rush through. It is a process. And God can be present with you in every single step of the way. When words fail, He'll comfort you. When that loss feels unbearable, His love will endure. And when you wake up every morning and when you trying to go to bed to figure out how to move forward, I want you to remember that honoring those who you have lost, it might be hard, but remember them for who they were. The good times will get you through it every time. I hope that you can live with purpose, love, and compassion when you lose someone unexpectedly, when you thought that they would be here with you forever. Because guess what? They probably thought the exact same thing. Y'all, grief is real. It's a part of this life journey. It's something that we're going to have to deal with, even if we don't want to. And there are often times you're going to lose someone. The people that you think are going to leave here are going to be the ones that stay. And the people who you didn't expect, those are the ones that's going to hit the hardest. But you got this. And God's love will carry you through all of that sadness. And He's there. I don't care what anybody tells you. Yes, there's a universe out there. There's stars. There's the moon. Some of y'all use sage. Y'all have different things that you use. What I'm saying is that God is the healer that I know of that has carried me through every single thing that I've been through that should have taken me out of here. And I'm a living witness. If He can do it for me, I promise you, He can do it for you. Let Him be with you. Let Him hold you up. Let Him lift you up during those moments when it feels like you're not going to get through it. But here's the final thing I'm going to tell you before we log off. Would that family member not want you to be the best you that you can be? Let their light shine so that you can rise up and be who God intended for you to be. Until next time, guys, I'll see you soon on the next episode of Monica Mentors. Have a great and blessed weekend.